Top Shelf.
Hello and welcome to Top Shelf Board Games. I'm Hubba.
I'm Sabrina.
And today that we're going to be playing this time is Power Grid the card game. It's the first time we've played this game. Sabrina has no idea how to play it yet. So I'm going to give her the rundown, teach her, and hopefully be teaching you at the same time. Okay, so this is Power Grid the card game. We have the turn order already set up here at the top. I'm going to go first for this first action. I'm playing with two players. So you have the trust, and then Sabrina's going to go last for this initial get-go. The game's already set up. We've shuffled out all the different cards. We got our starting market up here, and then this is going to be the future market. So this is the current market and the future market. When you go to purchase cards, you're going to purchase from the current market, which is the first four cards. And then these are ones that, might come into play later on in the game. The one on this, the cheapest one in this current market is going to be always a cost of 1. So it's going to be, that's the minimum bid you'll have to bid. And we got our resources down here. We have the cost of each of the resources depending on the column that it's in. So for instance, this column right here is going to cost $2 to buy any one of these, 3 to buy any one of those, and 4 to buy any one of those. And then you notice the $1 column is empty. That's because when you purchase a resource, if you purchase a resource that is beyond your stock capability, then you'll have to put the excess over here into column 1, which makes it cheaper for everybody else. We have our player area where just a card to reference who each of us are. And we've started with $12 or 12 electros to start the game off with. So the game is going to take place over 3 different phases for each round. We're going to do the auction power plants, we're going to buy resources, and then we'll do the bureaucracy where we kind of clean up everything. During the auction power plants, whoever's turn it is going to choose a power plant and then start an auction for it. The minimum bid is whatever the number is up in the top corner of the card. So for instance, this card has to start with a minimum bid of 2. And then players just go back and forth bidding as high as they want until only one player is left. And then that person gets the card. If the person who put it up for auction didn't get it, they'll choose another card to put up for auction and so on. If you've already purchased one card, you can no longer bid on a card. And you also can't put any power plants up for auction during that round. After the first player has basically purchased his power plant, the trust is always going to take the power plant that is the most expensive in the current market. Whoever's last to auction a power plant off is basically just going to purchase the power plant at the minimum cost for the power plant.
So if it's tied, how do you know which one? Do you just pick? Because you have 2 twos.
Right, so it'll always be this farthest one over here.
Oh, okay.
The one on the farthest right is considered the most expensive if it's tied.
Oh, okay.
You can only buy 1 power plant per round. You also have the option to not purchase a power plant, and so you can pass basically. But for the first round of play, each of us have to buy at least 1 power plant to get us started. Oh, and when the trust purchases a power plant, the power plant will go down in their play area. Each player can only have 3 power plants at a time. The trust will basically discard their lowest power plant every time they acquire a new one. So they'll always be, increasing the capabilities of their power plant. Next, we'll go to buy resources. When you do the buy resources, you go in reverse turn order. It's indicated by this little reminder up here. It just reminds you that in reverse order, we're going to buy resources. So that's kind of what that card shows, just to help you remember what we're doing. So in this case, Sabrina would be able to buy her resources first. And you'll buy all the resources that you want to buy, as long as you got money to do it. The limitations you have for buying resources, you can only buy resources that match power plants that you have. So for instance, if you had this one in play, then you would have 3 coal that it would be needed to power this power plant. You can have you'll take all of the coal symbols that you have and multiply that by 2, and that's how many of that type you can store. So if this is the only one you had, you could store 6 coal that you can use to power this plant throughout the game. If you had, for instance, this one and this one, you could buy 6 coal and you could have up to 2 of the nuclear resources. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. What's the symbol?
The symbol down here in the bottom right is going to be the money that you'll get every time you power this plant up.
Okay.
So every time you spend the resources to power it, you'll get that amount of money. The object of the game is to have the most victory points. And the way victory points are calculated up is for every $10 you have, you'll get 1 victory point. And then also, during that very last round of play, you'll get victory points based on the power plants that you're able to power up during that last turn. So you want to have a lot of money, and then you also want to be able to power up your plants on that very last round. After...
How many rounds is there?
We're going to go until we find the card that's the very last, that indicates the last round, which is this one right here. Once we draw that one, then we know we have one more round left, and we'll do one more round, and we'll basically reduce our power plants down to 6 of them that are available, and you'll be able to choose any of those 6 to purchase. And we'll do that last round, and then we'll end, and you'll get points for powering up those plants, plus how much money you have. As far as the resources go, after you're done purchasing your resources, the trust player is going to purchase his resources, and the resources he's going to purchase, he always purchases the extra resources over here first, and then he'll go to the next cheapest and purchase the ones that match his power plants. So he's always going to purchase in that way. So he'll work over one column at a time, purchasing what he needs. Once the trust is done, it'll be my turn to purchase whatever's left. Then that phase will end. It's important to determine, whether or not you want to be first or last player, because the resources they don't ever regenerate until the very end of the round. So during the bureaucracy phase, this is where we're going to spend our resources to power up our plants. It's also we're going to determine who the player order is. Basically, whoever purchases or whoever produces the most amount of money each round is going to be first player. So you'll, depending on if you want to be first or last player, you'll decide how much you want to actually power up. Because if you power up the most, you'll go first. But if you don't want to go first, then you don't want to power up, as much. So after that's all determined, we'll resupply the resource board. So basically, we'll shift everything just from one column over to the cheapest column. Coal always goes on top, then the hydro and the oil, and then the nuclear stuff in that order. And then we also put the cheapest resources up at the top, just to help be able to see what resources are available and how much of each resource is available. We'll discard, if this card hasn't been purchased, the cheapest one, we'll remove that card from play and refill the power plant deck. And once the power plant deck's been updated, the cheapest one's always here, so we'll reorder them based on what comes out. And then we'll go to the next round, and we'll just keep doing that over and over and over until we get to the one more round card, and then we'll go to the end there.
So what did you mean by this again? So this, I only have one, right?
So this card is going to indicate that you have 2 resources.
Okay.
You have 2 oil if you have this card. And then as you spend the oil, you'll rotate the card, saying now you got 1 oil left.
Okay.
Once it gets to 0, you'll discard that card. If you ever purchase more, say you have a maximum capacity of 4 oil, because you only have 2 oil symbols, so that gives you a maximum of 4 that you can store. If you purchased oil that gave you a total of 5, you'd have to reduce one of your cards down by 1, and then that's when you would take the extra resource card and put it over here that matches this symbol.
Oh, okay.
So you want to be careful doing that, because then that's going to give the other player cheap resources.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what you meant by that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you just put these cards on the power plants, like underneath it? That's how you know?
You just got to have them wherever, just
Okay.
in your area. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe, like us on Facebook, and share us with your friends.
Bye.
Bye.